Boom, shaka-laka boom. You've tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. It starts right now. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios here on the campus of WYAB in the lovely, quaint Second Amendment outpost of Flora, Mississippi. First Amendment outpost, Second Amendment outpost. It's actually First Amendment. I goofed up there. But hey, you know what? It's a Second Amendment outpost too. You F around, you will in fact find out here in Flora, Mississippi. Good mayor, good chief of police, good people. Place I wouldn't mind calling home one day. Definitely could see myself calling Flora, Mississippi home. Main Street, USA is Flora, Mississippi. I did a rant, or not a rant necessarily, but I did an entire opening monologue about this the other day unintentionally. Main Street, USA is definitely Flora, Mississippi. Who remembers old school wrestling back in the 80s? The Freebirds. They were from Bad Street, USA. Very similar to Jackson, but different because they had rebel flags and played Southern rock. But same energy. Bad Street. I don't want to get that stuck in my head. All right, man, had a good weekend. We're going to jump in hot here in just a second. I went down to the coast this weekend, down to Bay St. Louis. Had a great time hanging out at a place called Rags to Riches right there right across the street from the water, but on the water nonetheless. Enjoyed it. Was that Friday and Saturday? We came back Sunday and been ready to hit the ground running. Actually got home yesterday. It was very productive. Got a lot done. It was nice to get away. Realized that I don't necessarily enjoy getting away quite as much as I used to, but I needed to do it to just kind of clear my head and get a little change of scenery and ride in a vehicle for about 6 hours round trip. But it was nice. Enjoyed my time with my friends, my extended family, the McDonald's, good folks. Love them to death and always treated me like family, and nothing's changed. They still treat me like family. So I enjoy hanging out with them and see them again next year. Let's start things off. With, because we got a lot of heavy stuff today. So let's start things off on a lighter note. Let's give away an F'd around and found out grand championship. Yes, I say we do that. Let me pull the image up here on the screen because every now and then it's image worthy for those viewers watching online, which we are streaming worldwide in stunning HD at SaveJXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. And of course, we're on 103.9 FM WYAB, the big stick all throughout central Mississippi. If you're going to watch online, if you're going to partake in the comment section, please hit the share button. Please subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. Hit like, drop a comment. It helps with the algorithm. It helps with your recommendations. It will recommend our videos to you without you having to find them. If you subscribe, like, share, do any of that kind of engagement, interaction with it, it goes a long, long way. Same with Facebook. Let's jump into it. This is kind of a funny. I saw this last night over at Jackson Jambalaya when I got in town. A lady, high on meth, that tried to bribe the police. She was having a bad day, yeah. And it got a lot worse for her. Let me find a layout here that works good for this. I guess this will have to suffice. That ain't going to work. How about less than me, more of that? There we go. No, I like more of me. All right, here we go. This is funny. So Kingfish has this from Friday, July 4th, and it's captioned Idiot of the Day. But we'll caption it F'd around and found out. And as you see her there, she's in pretty rough shape. This is a Holly Marie Peden. And normally we wouldn't hit this kind of stuff because it's a victimless crime, so to say. Minus the hell that being the family member of an addict can be. But so to say, a victimless crime. But it's kind of funny. So we're going to talk about it. On Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. So this is actually a little old. So I guess I didn't catch that last night, but Kingfish just sharing it because I guess it's just coming out. So this happened back in February. Anyway, Deputy James White was patrolling Highway 43 in the Lake Harbor area when I observed a green sedan turn left onto Harbor Lane with the headlight out. Guys, get those headlights fixed. It's always folks with a headlight out with an expired tag riding dirty. And I don't know why the police pulled me over. I wasn't doing nothing. I don't know why the police pulled me over. There was a high-speed pursuit just over an expired tag. That's what they always say, too, in Rankin County after a high-speed pursuit. It was just an expired tag. Then why did you run, idiot? Then why did you run? See, it's no longer about the expired tag when you decide to run. It's about, what are they hiding? Is there a body in the trunk? Have they got a bunch of dope? Are they felons with firearms? 99% of the time, the people with the expired tag are also felons with firearms, which I could have a whole conversation about should felons get the firearms rights back. I believe they should in nonviolent situations, but they're not allowed to yet. Still against the law, so don't be an idiot. You're not going to win that court case on the side of the road or in court for now. All right, continuing. She didn't have a headlight, so she got pulled over. He said, I activated my emergency blue lights to conduct a traffic stop at the time. The green sedan, bearing MS, well, I don't know point putting her tag number out there, pulled into a driveway off Harbor Lane. While speaking to the driver, she identified as Mary Stewart with a social security number of blank. He goes, I could tell she was nervous about something while talking to the driver and observing her reactions. And, of course, if you saw her picture there, if you're watching online, you could definitely tell reason she looked nervous. She appears to be high as a kite. Anyhow, he goes, I asked her if she had anything inside the vehicle. She stated no, and that I was free to search the car. She steps to the back of the car and says that the vehicle belongs to her daughter, whom she left at her mother's house. While searching the front of the car, I discovered a black purse within arm's reach of where the driver was sitting. Inside the black purse, I found a glass pipe used to smoke methamphetamine out of. They call those chalets. The driver, don't ask me how I know, the driver became very agitated, and she said she had never done anything in her life, and that this belonged to her daughter. Woo-wee. Just roll her daughter right on under that bus, huh? This thing ain't mine. I ain't never did nothing. And let me tell you something. One thing I know about a meth head is they don't leave the meth or their chalet in the car for somebody else to take. They keep that on them. I mean, the odds of you getting pulled over with somebody else's amphetamines and or their chalet is really rare. They're not letting somebody else take their car with their drugs in it. High probability of that never happening. Never happening. Anyway, so she blames that on her daughter. He goes, while continuing my investigation, a white SUV pulled up. The driver stated, this is my mother, and she's going to tell you that this is my daughter's car. While talking to the driver of the SUV, I learned that the driver of the green car was not being honest about where her daughter was really at. After returning to the silver sedan, I learned the identity was Holly Peden. Mrs. Peden was then placed in custody for false identification and possession of paraphernalia. While transporting Mrs. Peden to the detention center, she kept trying to get me to let her go, stating she was going to rehab and trying to get her life straight, where she could take care of her grandkids. You know, it's the same story with these people, isn't it? It's always, I'm going to rehab. I got to get my life straight. I'm going to take care of my kids or my grandkids. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to bet that your daughter doesn't want you taking care of her kids. I don't know this. I'm just assuming, given the situation, she probably don't want you taking care of her kids. Anyway, she's going to take care of her grandkids. Let's see here. She's going to rehab and was trying to get her life straight. She's take care of her grandkids. While ignoring Mrs. Peden, she said again that she would give me anything to be let go of. All I had to do was contact her mother, and she would pay anything to help keep her from going to jail. Right before I pulled into the parking lot, she tried one last time and offered me $5,000 if I would let her go. All of this was being recorded on body cam of her saying all this information, and I advise Mrs. Peden that she will be charged with bribery. And I want to circle back to this comment here where it says her mother, she said, would pay anything to keep her from going to jail. And that right there is the problem, right? Is you have people who will pay anything to keep their kids out of jail. Now, this woman looks to be rather old. I mean, but meth has that effect on you. Yeah, you know, to sit here and talk about her mom will keep her out of jail and her daughter. Look, does she have what's her date of birth here? Arrest time. Does it have her date of birth on this? Age 42. Hoo-wee. She's 5 years younger than me. She look at every bit of her mid-60s in there. Every bit of her mid-60s. But that's the problem is, for too long, somebody has done all they could to keep her out of jail, assuming that her side of the story is correct. She may just be having methamphetamine dreams over here, and maybe her parents have never done nothing to try to keep her out of jail, because it's clear that some time in jail is going to be the best remedy for her addiction if she can't go into a good faith-based rehab. Now, I've got my buddy Bradley Hancock going to be in here at 8 o'clock this morning with Gateway Ministries, who help folks that won't help. And we're, so as I sit here and we shine a light on this, we are on the flip side going to tell folks out there who are struggling with addiction or homelessness or whatever the case may be, that we can help you too. Now people get mad at me all the time. Clay, you don't have any sympathy. You lack empathy. You're right. You're 100% right. I do. I do lack empathy and sympathy for people who don't want help, for people who continue to drag the people around them down into the depths of addiction hell, all because of their selfishness. I have no sympathy or empathy for those folks. Now, the second, and I do mean the second, somebody truly decides that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired and they want help, I will do anything I can, and I will exhaust every resource I have in my modern-day Rolodex, my cell phone, to get them persons help. If it's calling my buddy Bradley that's going to be here at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, or if it's calling the people down at the Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge, if it's calling my preacher, if it's calling any of the people I know that are on the front lines of the battle for the soul of America, on the addiction side, I will call those people and I will do everything I can to get people help. But in the meantime, if you're out here being a crackhead, a meth head, a junkie, whatever, making everybody else's life hell, ruining people's quality of life, making it dangerous for me and my children to stop at gas stations, to have to worry about watching you get banged on the side of a car wash, seen it on High Street, got the video to prove it. How about pillheads or heroin junkies riding up and down on their bicycles along the frontage road? When I first started this platform, I posted a video of a guy that a friend of mine sent me. He was so banged up, and by banged up, I mean banged up, as in banging heroin, injecting, whatever. He was so banged up, he couldn't stand up, he couldn't sit up on his bicycle. And I posted that video to show people how bad that looks and how he could have fumbled out into the road and somebody run him over, kill him or severely hurt him, and ruin their lives simultaneously because of his actions. Now, of course, all you bleeding hearts got on there and, oh my God, Clay, I can't believe you posted that. You caught him at his worst. And you're posting videos of him all banged up like that. You know what, though? I don't know how he is now, but for a short time, the humiliation of the internet seeing him like that, because he was well known around here, the humiliation from being seen like that got his ass sober. Again, don't know if he's maintained that sobriety. Don't even know if he's still alive or not. But for a short time, that worked. And unfortunately for everybody else thereafter, that is the methods I've used when I see people all banged up out in the streets, they say, you know what? Why don't we put a video of them up online? Now, I ain't done it in a while because I haven't been riding around Jackson as much. I don't work in Jackson anymore. But when I did, that was one of my methods of getting people help. You wouldn't believe how many people's families found their loved one because of my videos and reached out and thanked me. I actually had people who were in those videos reach out and thank me. One even bought a car from me at Watkins Auto Sales and thanked me for putting them on blast because the humiliation saved their life. There's more than one way to get things done around here. And it ain't always the empathy, sympathy, and bleeding heart way. Sometimes you got to be the bad guy. And I ain't got no problem being the bad guy. We'll be right back on WYAB. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB, streaming worldwide at Save JXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. This segment brought to you by friends over at Tri-County Tree Service. You see it there on the screen. If you're watching online, give them a call, 601-940-5499, 601-940-5499. That's Tri-County Tree Service. Lots of rain been coming through. It's got that ground mighty, mighty soft. You know, we were in a pandemic of dead trees a couple years ago. Did you get yours cut down? You have any trees that need trimmed from your house to keep from falling on, doing damage to your house, your car, you, your family? Give Tri-County Tree Service a call today. Let them come out, check them, and get you an estimate on getting these trees removed, trimmed, any of that stuff. Hauled off. You already got a tree falling, need it cut up, turned into firewood, whatever. They got you. Tri-County Tree Service. Today, let's see, man, they got a website, and I mean, I guess I could give that out. Probably easier than giving the phone number out. I think it's tricotree.com. Let me double check here. Tri-County Tree Service. Here we go. Dun-dun-dun. Well, yeah, there it is. TricoTreeService.com. TRICO treeservice.com. Trico Tree Services. I apologize. TricoTreeServices.com. And I'll have that in my notes moving forward, so I don't have to do that. But TricoTreeServices.com. Russ Borland and his team get you taken care of today. All right, man. We're live here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. We went hard on that first segment there. You got to every now and then. Every now and then, you got to get things back to the basics around here and call some folks out and remind people why we do what we do and why we do it the way we do it. Again, if you're here for somebody to hold your hand and tell you everything's going to be all right, it's probably going to be the wrong show for you. Probably going to be the wrong show for you. I had a listener the other day comment on my YouTube of the live stream and basically told me in so many words that I needed to stick with local, stay in my lane, stick with local. Look, man, we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about on this show. Now, I would say 60 to 70% on any given time, there's going to be local content. It's what I enjoy doing. However, there's some days that I don't find it interesting. I'm not ever going to grin and bear it and talk about things that don't interest me on some level. Just because. I'm not going to do that. That's fake. That's inauthentic. Is that a word? That's fake. No, there's a word I'm looking for about not being authentic. That's inauthentic. It's inauthentic. I'm not going to do it. We're going to talk about things that I find somewhat interesting. And if I don't find them interesting, we won't talk about them. So if it is local you want, I still say nobody does it better than us here at WYAB. And in particular, in the morning times, nobody does it better than the Clay Edwards Show. Let's take a call real quick on the Mazda Jackson phone line. I believe we got Jerry on the line. What's up, brother? Hey,
Look,
you're on there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You don't have to ride around anymore. They've got them consolidated over here. You know where I am. Matter of fact, I am right now live to you from the corner of Gallatin and West Street. And you don't have to go look around for them. They're right here. They're all piled up right here at the bottom of the hill below the pilot truck stop, all up and down Gallatin, hanging out at the homeless camp right over here behind the old liquor store at Highway 80. So, no, you don't have to ride around and take pictures of them anymore. They're just staggering up and down Gallatin Street.
Figures.
I mean, it's just, like you said, you don't have to put them on blast. Just come sit right here at the corner of West and Gallatin or 80 and Gallatin and just set up your video camera. You can get all the footage you need.
Well, you know, Jerry, it's like I was saying, man. People get all mad at me, all the bleeding hearts get mad at me. And I have had, it ain't been all rainbows and butterflies. I have had some of the people who I've put on blast and or their mothers sometimes reach out and cuss me out and tell me I'm going to hell and I'm a piece of crap and all this stuff. Well, I feel like her child is a piece of crap for living that life out of the gas station parking lot for everybody in their families to have to see. You know, and clearly this old-fashioned way of doing things where we try to do it through love and Jesus and all that stuff, that don't work on everybody.
I agree. I mean, you know, I'm like you. I'm looking at it from the safety issue. I can't tell you how many times I make this turn, you know, off of 80 onto Gallatin or State or Terry Road, any of those, and I'm not even looking for traffic. I'm looking for, man, I hope one of these guys doesn't fall off this curb right out in front of a vehicle or something, and it scares you to death. I mean, you literally don't know, and God forbid you work late, you know. I get up before the sun comes up and go to work when the sun goes down, and like I said, you can't hardly see them. You know, half of them don't have clothes on, and the ones that do, you can't see them, and you're just sitting there going, my heart hurts for you, but please, God, don't walk out in front of my truck.
Well, this is going to be a really unpopular thing to say, but let's just say, for instance, and I go back to that guy who was riding the bicycle on the frontage road down there that I was telling the story about earlier. That was so banged up he couldn't stay up on his bicycle. That was on the frontage road down from like Capitol Grill, that area, DeVille Plaza, the old DeVille Cinema, down through there between Ridgewood and Briarwood there. And you know, what if, say somebody, and again, this is wrong. I'm never saying drink and drive, or I have sympathy for somebody drinking and driving that does something bad, but let's just say somebody's had 2, 3, 4 beers. They're right at the limit there. And this guy riding his bike falls down in the middle of the road in front of them. They run over him, but it's 100% his fault. And they go to jail. They're just right at the limit, right over the limit. They go to jail for the rest of their life. Now they get a vehicular homicide. And again, I'm not saying drink and drive is okay, but it's just an example of people playing with fire. And when you play with fire, you get burned. Or you know, even if somebody isn't drinking and driving, they're completely sober riding through there, somebody falls down in front of them, they run over them, kill them, severely injure them. You don't know how some people can handle that the rest of their lives. That could cause that person to go into the depths of depression and end up committing suicide or end up addicted to drugs themselves. It's just the butterfly effect, I guess is what I'm getting at, can be very reaching.
I agree. And so, you know, I was just calling, tried to call you off the air. I apologize. But,
no, I'm sorry. I was in the restroom.
When you were saying, need to go back down there and take Vic, I was like, no, you don't have to drive anywhere. Just sit right here. They'll all come to you.
Shake a cup.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, I'm at work. Some of us got to go make a paycheck, pay for the rest of them.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Later.
I love that dude, man. We need some of our OG callers start calling back, guys. I'm serious. I'm on the verge of eliminating the phone line. Y'all don't start using it. I know it's morning times. You got to shake it off. I know y'all like to text. Speaking of which, the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. Mazda Jackson phone line 601-879-0002. All right. It's already time for another break. Man, that happened quick, didn't it? Let's take this break. When we come back, so some of the stuff I'm going to hit today is, well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, some of the stuff we're going to hit today is that CJ LeMasters over at WLBT called me out on social media yesterday, and it was obvious he was talking about me because I'm the only person who did a story about this. So just say my name, CJ. I'm not scared to say yours. Called me out and says that, A, You should get your media from journalists, not personalities. Hell, oh boy, you know I got a lot to say about that. You know I got a lot to say about the journalist telling us that we should get all of our information from them, not independent media. Noted. And we're also going to unpack why does CJ not like, or at least appear to not like, any law enforcement agency that is led by conservatives, i.e. a Republican sheriff or a Republican mayor. He seems to have a real problem with those law enforcement agencies. So we're going to unpack that as well. Let's take one more call on the Mazda Jackson phone line before we go to break. Hey, you're on there.
Good morning.
Hey, Sylvia. Thought that was
not
you.
Have the line to call in anymore. Okay. I'll call more often if you want. Okay.
Okay.
I love calling in. But don't cut off the line, all right?
No, I'm not. I was kidding. I'm not cutting off the line.
Okay, good. You have a wonderful day. Love you. Bye.
Thanks, Sylvia. Bye. Love Miss Sylvia. Let's take the break. We'll be right back. We're going to start unpacking this stuff with WLBT. Also, I do want to address the tragedy going on in Texas with the floods there too. It was hard. It was really, really hard to enjoy the weekend, knowing that was going on just a couple states over. We'll unpack that as well. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back on 103.9 FM, WYAB. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. This segment brought to you by our friends over at Martin's Downtown and Martin's Livingston. The blue plate special of the day at both locations is fried or grilled pork chop. Guys, I've had the fried pork chop at Martin's, and you can't go. Let's just be honest. Anything fried from Martin's is a win. Frankly, anything from Martin's is a win, but they really do fried well. I don't know what it is about some places with pork chops, and we're blessed here on the Clay Edwards Show to have several restaurants that do blue plates, and actually they all do a fried pork chop, and all the crust stays on the pork chop. Some places don't quite get it right, and it's hard to get the crust to stay on the pork chop. Like you'll cut it and pick it up, and the crust falls off. Not at Martin's. The crust stays on the pork chop. These are things. These are issues. These are real-world problems that we deal with around here. You ain't got to worry about that at Martin's. And it's super juicy. Some people, the pork chops are all dry. Some people just don't do white meat good. They insist on overcooking it. Some people in the community around here call it fried hard. They like it like that. Clay doesn't. I like juicy. Just whatever the minimum amount you can cook white meat without it getting you sick is how I want my white meat cooked, because I don't want it overcooked, because it becomes tough, like beef jerky. You don't have to worry about that at Martin's. Also, coming up at Martin's, we're teaming up with our friends over at Southern Sky Brands to bring you, and I'm not really getting paid for this, I just like it, and I think it's cool, so I'm saying we're teaming up with, and it's happening at Martin's, so it's easy to say it, Jim Belushi, live in concert, the blues brother himself, Jim Belushi, brought to you by Southern Sky Brands, is going to be at Martin's downtown on Friday, August 8th. That's right around my birthday. That's right around Clay's 48th birthday. I'm smelling an early birthday party at Martin's downtown. So mark your calendars. Get your tickets now. Check out Martin's Downtown, jxn.com. Tickets are on sale now for Jim Belushi, live in concert, the blues brother himself. And look, coming up before that is one that I'm equally as excited about, is the Metallica tribute band, Hardwired. They are one of the world-renowned premier Metallica tribute bands. They're out of Tampa, Florida. And look, Metallica is undoubtedly, undeniably, it ain't even arguable, Metallica is the number one rock band in the world right now. They're the number one heavy metal band of all time. I don't have to sell you on Metallica's greatness. You know it. They're so great that tribute bands playing their music, sell out nightclubs. Hardwired will be no different. Mark your calendars, July 18th, Martin's downtown. All right. Let's get back to it, shall we? We'll save the Texas stuff for hour 2. We did get an update on it real quick, and it's just devastating, man. Just absolutely devastating. Camp Mystic says it's mourning the loss of 27 campers, counselors in the Texas flooding, and just the stories that are coming out of that are just harrowing. And like I said, it made trying to enjoy myself this weekend really difficult, just knowing the tragedy that's going on 2 states over in Texas. It's just absolutely devastating what's going on over there. My buddy Kevin Steele is a independent journalist out of Texas, and he's been covering it extremely well. Lots of good information on his Facebook page. I've shared a bunch of it over the weekend on my big Facebook page and my personal page, I believe. You'll go search me out on Facebook and find Kevin's profile and follow him. He keeps you really, really up to date on what's going on there with every survivor they find or every unfortunate victim they find and identify. He's staying on top of it. And just some of the stories of heroism that are coming out of Texas really make you proud to be a damn American. It really does. Because I'm a guess that the men and women over there saving people's lives weren't stopping and saying, "Oh, you a Republican or a Democrat? You didn't vote for Trump, did you? I ain't going to be able to rescue you if you voted for Trump." Or vice versa. "Oh, you didn't vote for Kamala, did you?" You know that ain't happening. Not even thinking about it. They're just over there pushing their sleeves up, jumping in, doing whatever they got to do to save people. And it's every now and then when you're on the front lines of this culture war and you have to poison your brain 5 days a week to do this show, to find things, to feed the anger addicts, to feed the beast. It does eat at you. It eats at your humanity a little bit. It makes you lose faith in humanity a little bit because if it bleeds, it leads. Y'all can sit here and tell me all day you want good news. I want you to talk about the good news. Talk about the positive things. Y'all don't like that. Y'all don't like, neither do I. Not when it comes to my news entertainment. You know, we like the negativity. Not this kind of negativity, but be clear, I'm not talking about the same thing here. Nobody likes what's happening over in Texas. That's not what I'm talking about. Oddly enough, I'm using that as my positive to talk about the heroic efforts that are coming about and the stories of people risking it all to save people. I think they're crediting one person with saving over 120 people. I saw that this morning. Where did it say that here? American hero saves 165 lives in devastating Texas floods. I said I was going to talk about this in the top of the second hour, but we're doing it now. We'll save the CJ LeMaster stuff. We got 3 hours today. We're going to save the WLBT stuff for the 9 to 10 o'clock hour. I'm making a audible right now, calling it audible, because I'm waiting on some information, too, on crime stats. Because CJ says that the Capitol Police are not the reason that the capital city is safer, that the Capitol Police and the CCID are not the reasons that murder are down in the capital city. How he could say that with a straight face is mind-boggling. Talks about narratives. Man, I had a lot of respect for that guy, with the exception of one really dumbass thing he did a couple years ago. But, man, I lost it all in one fell swoop yesterday. But, hey, that's all good. All good. Let's go back to this. American hero saves 165 lives in devastating Texas floods. So this is from Fox News, so y'all bear with me. I'm trying to read this. A Coast Guard swimmer rescues nearly 200 people in deadly Texas floods. Young girl describes harrowing moment. She prepared for worse during flood. The way I'm trying to read this, I apologize. This is kind of clunky. It's not the link I thought it was. Okay, here we go. New Jersey Coast Guard swimmer rescues nearly 200 people in deadly Texas flash floods. And by the way, they have issued another flood warning for Texas today. And the audacity of people to blame this crap on Trump. You people, there's something wrong with y'all. A United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer from New Jersey is being called a hero after rescuing close to 200 people following flash floods in Central Texas. Petty Officer 3rd Class Scott Ruskin, 26, was singled out by U.S. Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem for his efforts, saving 165 victims as the only triage coordinator at the scene of the floods. United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer and Petty Officer Scott Ruskin directly saved an astonishing 165 victims in the devastating flooding in Central Texas. This is a quote from Kristi Noem. This was the first rescue mission of his career, and he was the only triage coordinator at the scene. Scott Ruskin is an American hero. His selfless courage embodies the spirit and mission of the United States Coast Guard, Noem posted to her X account on social media. Ruskin said in an interview on Fox and Friends that they were in the air when he saw a huge crowd of about 200 kids at a campsite. That is how they decided to focus on Camp Mystic. Yeah, as of right now, we've been getting our task from higher above, mostly from the Army as of right now. This is a quote from Ruskin. But a lot of it has just been large state triages. So we were at Mystic yesterday for a period of time. We probably got about 200 people out of there alone. And it was just, we just saw a huge crowd, about 200 kids at a campsite. So we're like, cool, that's where we're going to go. And we're just going to get as many people out as we can until they're all gone, Scott told Fox and Friends. Kerr County Sheriff's Office said that as of about 1:30 p.m. Sunday, they had recovered 68 deceased in Kerr County. Among those deceased have been 40 adults and 28 children. 18 adults are pending identification and 10 children also pending identification. At present, there are 10 Camp Mystic campers unaccounted for, along with one counselor. Apparently there was about 750 people at Camp Mystic from what I could gather looking around the internet this morning. It's just devastating, man. I can't fathom what those families are going through there and what that community is going to go through. And they'll never heal from this. This will be something that they carry for the rest of their lives, even if they didn't lose a family member. Just being a part of the community where such a tragedy took place. I mean, could you imagine for just a brief second, imagine right here in central Mississippi of the dam broke out at the Ross Barnett Reservoir, and all that water came flooding downstream and started taking out communities and neighborhoods along the way. The Children's Museum, all that's right in the path of that. And some kind of tragedy happened. My God. You know, imagine an area this size trying to heal from losing 70 people, almost 30 children. I don't know that we could. Let's take a break. We'll be right back to land the plane for hour one on the Clay Edwards Show. Got a full 3 hours for you this morning. No telling what all we'll get into. Got a big announcement coming up, too, so we'll do that when we come back here on WYAB. Seconds here till our top of the hour break. We'll be back in 7 minutes after that with Bradley Hancock, as well as the director of Gateway Ministries here in the studio, talking about all they do to help those in need. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back for 2 more hours of the most incendiary show on the radio. Now, I said I had a big announcement, and I meant to do it then. Dang it. Starting yesterday, maybe y'all already watched and you know, but starting last night, we're doing a live stream every night, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. It's Clay Edwards, myself, Sean Yurkaran, and Lindsey Beckham, host of Crossing the Aisle here on WYAB. We're teaming up to bring you a nightly news show unlike anybody else in central Mississippi. Mainstream media says you should get your news from them, not people like us. So what did we decide to do? Bring you the news. Since they said we shouldn't, we said, okay, we will. Y'all tune in tonight, wherever you're watching this video, or on Sean and Lindsay's platforms, any of mine, we'll be broadcasting from them for 1 hour, bringing you all the top stories of the day with a heavy emphasis on local. And, of course, we'll read your comments and more. See you tonight, 8 o'clock. But don't go anywhere. Still got 2 more hours this morning. Boom, shakalaka boom. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the RADIO. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards, coming at you live here on 103.9 FM. Streaming worldwide at WYAB.com, as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB on the RADIO. Actually, that wouldn't be on the RADIO. That would be on the Internet. Or just tell Alexa, hey, Alexa, play the Clay Edwards Show. We still don't know if that works, but it sounds great on the radio, doesn't it? We're streaming, again, worldwide at SaveJXN, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. And we've got some guests here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studio that we're going to introduce you to here in just a second. But first, guys, don't forget, coming up, July 18th, 19th, and 20th, it is the Mississippi Wildlife Extravaganza. That's right, Mississippi's annual Great Outdoors reunion and home of the Magnolia Records Big Buck Contest. July 18th through 20th at the Clyde Muse Center in Pearl, Mississippi, with over 50 new exhibitors this year, including ya boy. That's right, I'll be out there with my big Buy FAFO merch booth. The Clay Edwards Show will be broadcasting live throughout the weekend and more. Also, some real celebrities are going to be out there. The folks from Buck Commander are going to be over there this year. Can't wait to see all of them. Let's see here. They've also got a brand new deal going. Something for the ladies. How about the new market at the Ganza? It's going to be in the Muse Annex. It's arts, it's crafts, it's boutiques, especially for the ladies. Tons of kids' activities, too. Food, fun, fellowship at the Ganza. Don't miss out, July 18th through 20th. The Clyde Muse Center on the Hines Rankin campus. I have been every year since they moved it to Rankin County, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I think they expect over 15,000 people through the doors over 3 days. Come be one of them. It's a blast. I'll be giving away a bunch of guns and stuff as part of their charity that they do. So really excited to be the MC on some of that. I won't be doing everything, but I'll be doing a good bit of it. So I'm excited to do that again this year. I did it last year. So join us and come buy some merch from your boy. That's right. I'll have all my new merch laid out, available to purchase in person at the Clyde Muse Center for the first time. All right. Here in the studio, we got Brad Hancock, and we got Mr. Ford with Gateway. It's Gateway Rescue Mission. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
All right, Gateway Rescue Mission. I saw Brad had posted something on Facebook last week or so, and I was like, that just letting folks know that at Gateway, they're here to help you, regardless of your situation, regardless of how you got there. They want to help you. And I went on a good rant this morning about folks that aren't ready for help, but folks that are. Yeah. You know, we want to roll out the red carpet and get you some dang help. No excuses, no judgment, none of that. Don't care how you got here. You're here. That's all that matters. This is step one. I'm going to pass the mic to you guys. Introduce yourselves and kind of tell people what we got going on.
Okay, so my name is Brad Hancock. I'm the program manager at Gateway Rescue Mission.
And I'm Foley Ford, program director at Gateway Rescue Mission.
And, man, I tell you, first, I just want to start off by thanking you, Clay, for everything you do for the recovery community and faith-based community and how you are sort of a light to that community and a hope to that community. And you've always been there for any need we've had. So I just want to start off by thanking you for that, man.
Well, yeah.
And
it's my way of giving back. I mean, I know that I teeter on the line with some of my stuff here, and I feel like the way that I can do that is by giving back and, and showing people that, we can disagree on some things, but we can also agree on some, and there's a way to be positive. This is my idea. When people tell me about positive solutions, this is a positive solution.
Absolutely.
This is the real boots on ground, people doing the Lord's work, and I want to shine a light on y'all. I think y'all are doing it. You maybe not have the size platform that I have or whatever, but I want to shine a light on what y'all do. And we know we got a bunch of good folks that listen to this show, watch this show, that want to help out, and they give when they can. And we are Southerners. We are Mississippians at the end of the day, and we're it's called the hospitality state for a reason.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do, or one of the many things we do at Gateway Rescue Mission, is when we see a guy, especially the guys that you just see around Jackson, the ones on the street corners, the ones that are on Frontage Road on 55 and all these guys, is when we see a guy that's willing to make a change. And even if in that moment, if he's not willing to make a change, we try to love on him, try to invite him to a series of programs and meals that we have at Gateway Rescue Mission, and just try to really just meet them where they're at. A lot of people ask what we do at Gateway, and I said kind of see a need, feel a need. It changes by the day. I think that there's a problem that we see in our community today with a lack of resource and a lack of love and affection and not empathy, to touch on earlier in your show. But I think that that the right approach to the situation would be just the love of Christ and offer recovery to the ones who are willing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, as a former addict, and I don't hide from it, my rock bottom, I mean, you have talked about this in previous shows, your rock bottom may be different than my rock bottom. Everybody's rock bottom is different. It's not always pushing all your belongings in a buggy down Highway 80. Yeah. That might not be that person's rock bottom. But that might not be yours. Yeah. That might not be where you hit bottom out at and you say, I don't want this no more. But when you get there and you bottom out, it's letting people know that, hey man, there is a place. But when you're ready, you got to be ready. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And that's what I've been trying to say. As a guy that's been there, you couldn't have told me nothing. I think back about it a lot. You couldn't have told me nothing until I was ready. Absolutely. I had it under control.
Absolutely.
I told myself all these dumb things. I was listening to a guy talk about he's been sober for like alcohol, everything. Maybe he was an alcoholic, and he'd been sober for 10, 12 years. And Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue just celebrated 24 years on the 4th of July of sobriety. And imagine living in that lifestyle. Like Motley Crue is this rolling circus, and it's the night when they come to town, everybody gets messed up and parties, and you're the maitre d' of chaos. Yeah. And you had to stay sober as a recovering addict, drug, alcohol, everything else. But I just remember the guy was talking, and it really hit home for me over the weekend. And he said, this was a host of a podcast that was just talking about that. And he said, I kept telling myself that I go to work every day. I pay my bills. This is just an escape. This doesn't affect me. Yeah. And he realized that just because he was a functional alcoholic didn't mean he wasn't an alcoholic. And just hearing somebody else say that and knowing that those are the same things I told myself over the years with drugs or pills, and frankly with alcohol to this day, even if it's only on the weekends, whatever. If there's a need for it, it does make you feel bad. But you think, you just keep telling yourself, well, yeah, but it's different because I go to work every day. I'm functioning and this, that, and the other. But it was it's just one of those aha moments. Yeah. And you have them throughout life. And when people have that aha moment and they're ready to get help, Gateway is there for them.
For sure.
So let me ask this straight up, okay? Because people are in and out of their cars, so we can repeat this. If somebody is hearing this morning and they're saying to themselves, "I'm ready, I need help," or "I've got somebody that's living in my house or that's out on the streets that I know is ready, they need help," what can they do?
Well, they can do a number of things. They can reach out to us over the website. They can come to our facility on 328 South Gallatin Street in Jackson, Mississippi. We're right in the heart downtown, right on the front of the war zone, so we like to call it. And
we cooked out there one Christmas a few years ago.
Yeah. And they can come in, and if a guy comes through that door and he's willing to make a change and says, "Hey, I've burnt every bridge there is to burn. I got nothing left. There's no outs, and I want to do something different," we're going to take them in. We're going to offer them our New Life program, which is a 6-month discipleship A&D treatment program. It's 3 classes a day of intense 12-step studies from a biblical worldview. We believe that during that 6 months, one of the most important things is allow the Lord to work on your heart, because if your heart doesn't change, your addiction and nothing else in your life is going to. And between Mr. Ford, my director here, and me and the team that we have, a licensed counselor, we try to get to the root of the problem on why you're getting high and sort of what the key issues are because for you being in the situation to begin with.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Clay, just to tell you, I've been around this thing a long time. I've been in recovery myself for about 36 years. Been in the working around programs like this for a while, and what I see with people is it's a variety of things that get them to where they are. Like you said, everybody's bottom is not the same. You have some folks that are high functioning. You have some folks that started out low. But this is what I look at. I look at it addiction in two ways. I look at it as a physiological, neurological addiction, with the brain chemistry, but also look at it as a spiritual malady. It is about a spiritual malady. So what we try to do at Gateway is we address both of those, and we'll get in the trenches with you if you got childhood trauma, you got issues that you've had for years and years, and you've not addressed those issues cause you emotional pain. And what folks like to do is medicate their emotional pain. And very often that happens and it gets out of hand, and then that's when they go off and do things that they wouldn't normally do. And that can cause a whole lot of disruption in people's lives.
And this is the part that it's so good for me to have you guys on. And a lot of this is the I've jokingly called this show the reinvention of Clay Edwards. You know what I mean? Because it's like every now and then you need to hear the other perspective and be reminded that everybody out there on the streets isn't people who just started recreationally doing drugs and are just 100% selfish. A lot of it is they got started by their doctors.
Yeah.
And they got overprescribed, and they got addicted to things that they weren't aware of the dangers at the time.
For sure.
So we're talking about people who have been addicts for a long, long time, and it's a snowball effect. And sometimes I'm guilty of forgetting that. And it's good to have you on here and to remind me that people do have a lot of childhood trauma that they've dealt with, or whatever the case may be. It's not all just, I was at a party one time, did some cocaine, and loved it so much that I just kept doing cocaine. Then I started smoking crack, and here I am. And that is a part of it. Don't get me wrong, but the other part is people who are fixing pain, and they've overdone it, and they don't know how to get out of that.
Yeah. One thing we love about what we do, and we take pride, not to toot our own horn. Toot
that horn.
But in the New Life program, we take people from prison. We take people off the streets. We take any individual, a man over the age of 21, if you say, hey, I want to do something different, well, come on, we're going to give you that shot. And of course, we know that some people will, get some meals in them and then ultimately go back out and do the same thing over and over again. But one thing I do pride ourselves in is that traditionally secular rehabs and other long-term faith-based rehabs has a relapse rate about 18 to 23%. We have a relapse rate, according to our data, of like 6 or 7%.
Wow.
For people that have committed to the New Life program and joined our program. And that isn't because of anything we think of ourselves. We just think that God has protected and ordained Gateway for this very purpose. Is for those guys that you're like, man, what's up with all these guys hanging around Jackson? Well, we've kind of taken initiative to restore life to Jackson. We believe that if we want to see life to Jackson again, that's the way we're going to do it. We're going to get to the root issues. We're going to get to the key issues of these individuals that we're asking these questions about and try to restore their life, and by default, begin to restore life to Jackson.
I like it. Let's take a break. When we come back, we've got Ford and Brad here with Gateway Rescue talking about their programs and whatnot. We're going to talk about how you can donate to them if God's putting that on your heart. And, again, I want to unpack some of this stuff and maybe hear a story or two about some success stories over there. Maybe we can hear Brad's story.
Okay. Amen.
All right. We'll be right back here on The Clay Edwards Show right here on WYAB. Running my mouth here during the break. We're live. This is the Clay Edwards Show on 103.9 FM, streaming worldwide at SaveJXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. Don't forget we have those other social media channels at Clay Edwards Show on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where I upload the short reels, the clips from this show. So if you missed anything, thought I said something funny, interesting, incendiary that you wanted to share with somebody, there's a very good chance that a little short 90-second or less clip of that, 3-minute or less clip of that, should I say, ends up on one of those platforms at Clay Edwards Show on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And, of course, we have the @SaveJXN, where a lot of stuff ends up at those as well. Real quick, this segment brought to you by our friends over at Mazda of Jackson. Guys, be sure to reach out to Mazda of Jackson today for all of your automotive needs, all your new car and quality, low mileage, late model pre-owned needs. They got you covered at Mazda of Jackson, right there at Briarwood Drive on 55. You know where it is. Can't miss it. Right there next to Cowboy Maloney's Electric City. That little stretch right there. The old Chuck E. Cheese. It's not Chuck E. Cheese anymore. I think it's Mr. Chin's now. But either way, you're right there in that area. You know where it's at if you've been through Jackson for more than a day or two. Did you know that every new Mazda comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty? That's right, lifetime powertrain warranty. It's no nonsense, no BS, no whole lot of catches with it. I think you just got to get your oil changed there, get your service done there, and boom, you qualify. But don't quote me verbatim on that. Be sure to look at the paperwork. Don't get mad at Clay Edwards if I led you a little wrong there. But look at the paperwork. But I'm telling you, these things are legit. I've worked at a dealership that had something very similar. I watched people's engines get changed out at 300,000 miles on 10, 12-year-old vehicles because they followed the rules. So, yeah, that's real important. If you ever had to change out a transmission or an engine in an old vehicle, you know, they can get expensive. And these new vehicles ain't getting any cheaper to work on.
For sure.
So consider Mazda of Jackson. Shop them online at MazdaofJackson.com. It's locally owned. It's locally operated. The Carr family is going to be the managers that pencil your deal. They're not hiding behind 3 levels of managers, a GSM, a GM, all that stuff. They sales manager. They work the deals. They shake your hand. They give you their cell phone number when you buy a car from them. So if you got any problems, you can cut the middleman out and go straight to the chief. That's Mazda of Jackson. I love that, man. I tell you, I talk about that a lot, and I've been in the car business for a long time. And that customer service, it goes a long, long way. People buy vehicles and stuff in general from people they like and from people that treat them right. I've bought stuff that wasn't on the top of my list because I liked the person I was buying it from.
Absolutely.
And when they treat you right like they do over at Mazda Jackson, I think that it deserves to be applauded, whether they're an advertiser on this show or not. Yeah. Really, really appreciate folks who do good business, and it goes a long way. Let's circle back here to Gateway. We got Ford and Brad here in the studio with Gateway Rescue Mission. Guys, how can my folks donate if they want to donate? Maybe they don't have time to come down there and be boots on ground, doing stuff. And that's always an option, too. I'd like to hear about that. Is that an option, should I say? Do y'all take volunteers that want to come down and help? And if they can't come down there and help, how can they donate money, supplies, whatever?
Okay, Clay, good. That's Gateway is a 501c3. We're a faith-based nonprofit, been around since 1948. Okay, we've been down on Gallatin Street that long. And we operate through private donations. We take no government funding. We don't, too many strings attached.
Neither do we here at WYAB. No tax. No, we don't take any taxpayer funds.
We want to teach and preach the gospel the way it should be. And we don't need the government interfering with that. So we don't do that. But you can go, anybody want to donate, they can go to our website at gatewaymission.org. There's a donate section on there that they can put that in. They can donate in funds that way. Or they can come down, like you mentioned, they can come down and volunteer. There's a volunteer portal on our website that they can do that and schedule to come in and volunteer, either to serve lunches or food to the homeless. They can come in there and talk to the unhoused, and they could even come do some chapel services, that kind of thing. So we have an interaction. We like for people to come down and just see what we do. Like you say, we're frontline, boots on the ground. We're dealing with folks every day who have a variety of mental health issues and addiction issues and homelessness issues. So, yeah.
Let me ask you this, Ford. I know it does me a lot of good to go in there and do that kind of stuff because it humanizes folks, and it makes you realize that everybody ain't that vagrant on the corner begging for money. When we know most of those guys are professional panhandlers. They're not going back to sleep at the Gateway at nighttime. They're getting in a car hidden somewhere, and they're riding back out to their house, wherever it may be, and going back to work the next day. That's their job. But what I noticed when I went and did the Christmas thing down there a few years ago, and just all the conversations I was having with some people, there were some people that you would just never know they were homeless if you just didn't know they were homeless, if that makes sense. I mean, they're very intellectual people, very smart people that have just hit some type of mental roadblock where they're having a hard time functioning as a normal adult. But they're not all of them are not this image of what a homeless drug addict, you may think is the image of a homeless drug addict. It's very smart people who they got something going on where they can't quite get over that hump. And you were mentioning that your recidivism rate, or I guess that's what we'll call it, is, your success rate or failure rate, should I say, is like 7%, 6%.
For sure.
What are some success stories? I mean, are we seeing people go from homelessness to being fully functioning adults? And I guess by fully functioning adults, I mean housing themselves and working and paying their bills drug-free like quote-unquote normal people do. Is this what we're calling success?
Absolutely. So at Gateway, we define success as a independent life, progressive life, rooted and centered in God's Word, able to sustain yourself in a healthy manner. So we try to meet a person where they're at and get them there, no matter what that looks like. To some people, they have schizophrenia, mental health, to where we get them the help they need, get them medicated, outsource their medications, and get them stable enough to either get on some sort of benefits or assistance to create an independent life for them versus on the corner of 55.
That schizophrenia is something that is really scary.
Yeah.
People that deal with that, and there's the bipolar disorder as part of that. And that is something that's really scary. And I do have a lot of sympathy for people who are dealing with that. When I had my nightclub downtown, both times I had clubs downtown, but from 2003 to 2010, down there on the corner of Farish and Capitol, before you had started seeing any revitalization down there, which of course now it's worse than it was. But anyway, pre-initial revitalization, pre-King Edward, you saw a lot of that down there. And you saw, and I was, like I said, boots on ground in another sense, but I was down there all the time, late at night, around all these people. A lot of them worked for me, cleaning up and doing stuff for me. And you knew that there were some that were okay, and there were some that were just what we call crazy, or the schizophrenia and stuff. And I guess they just burned their bridges with family, friends, the system, whatever, and they're just out there in the streets with no hope. That's a scary place to be.
Sure.
And a lot of us take for granted having families and having a support system. I know I've taken it for granted over the years, and I also understand that if it wasn't for that support system, I would probably have been down there have found my way down there at some point. I'm not, I'm well aware of that.
Yeah.
So it's good to see you guys doing that work down there.
Yeah, for sure. So we anywhere from the schizophrenic that is a product of not enough funding or some sort of system or legislation for mental health not being enough to meet that need, or from the addict who comes from off the streets, from the guy that's coming from prison. What we do is we've been able to get them in there and meet them where they're at, and we've had people go on to have their own apartments, to work jobs at the Iron Horse Grill and kind of progress and get a car. We've seen families restored. We had this one client who's now on staff with us now. He hadn't seen his daughter in, I think it was like 5 years or something like that. And we got an amazing video out there of his daughter coming to see him sober for the first time, and they're just hugging each other, crying. But I myself am a product of the program. I paroled out to the New Life program. I learned the tools that it was going to take to deal with life on life's terms, and that's so important. And once I graduated the program, Gateway put me through school. I got my first undergraduate certificate with City Vision University, and we've had people come out of our program. Me and Mr. Ford was just talking about this the other day, to where some of them go on to interns with ministries like Youth for Christ or other ministries in the area and outside of the state. So we got some amazing success stories down there. We also got some guys that flop and they end up coming back, but we're thankful for every time they come back, because we know when they leave.
Than come back in a body bag.
For sure, for sure.
I mean, so at least they catch it.
Yeah.
I mean, so many directions I want to go with this, but let's talk about the prison aspect for a second. Guys getting out of prison, let's just say they get out of prison, they don't have anywhere to go, and I'm not that familiar with the systems. Everybody doesn't get put into a halfway house coming out of prison. Some people just get released and they have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
do you have to be an addict to end up at Gateway, or can you just be homeless out of prison and just try to get reacclimated, treat it like a halfway house?
Yeah. So at Gateway, no matter what your hurt, hang up, or habit is, we're going to meet that need. We feed meals 3 times a day. We offer an overnight shelter for overnight guests, and then we have the New Life program. And the New Life program is offered to anybody, whether you have a lust problem, whether you have a reentry problem, whether you have an addiction problem. We've got tracks and tools for any kind of need that you have. Now, as far as prison,
everybody at Gateway ain't a drug addict.
Yeah, no, by far. We've had people that came in that just the other day we had a client who says, well, I don't got a drug problem. We believe that the issue is the same, and that's just the heart of man. But with prison, in Mississippi Department of Corrections, to make parole or to make earned release supervision, you have to have an approved address. And this is one of the things Gateway does that I'm so thankful for, not just because I'm a product of it, but because there's such a need for it. People are spending majority of their sentences in prison, and they're eligible for parole, they're eligible to get out, but they have burned every bridge that they have, probably because of their crime or whatever, and they can't get out because they don't have an address. And I remember being denied from halfway houses here in Jackson, and hearing the stories about other halfway houses, how you don't want to go there. And then by the will of the Lord, I heard about Gateway, and I got approved there. It wasn't even on the list at the time of halfway houses to apply for while you're in prison, but I heard about it and I got approved, and I'm so thankful for that.
Man, that's awesome. I was not aware of that. To get paroled, you had to have the address, and that there's people stuck in prison on our dime that need an address. Which, and this is just me thinking out loud. I'm sure y'all have had this conversation, but you want to talk about government funding? Wouldn't it make more sense to fund a halfway house if you're the government than it would be to continue to keep these people locked up?
Absolutely,
it would have to be cheaper to fund a halfway house if you did it the right way. Not the government way.
Yeah.
Where you've got to check off all these ridiculous boxes. I digress. Let's take a break. Come back. We got Brad and Ford with Gateway Rescue Mission here in the studio for another segment. And we got a whole nother hour to go after this. This is the Clay Edwards Show, WYAB, live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios on a Monday morning. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. This segment brought to you our friends over at A1 Gear and Auto. If you have any automotive problems, check out A1 Gear and Auto today. Whether it's your air conditioner not blowing cold or your rear end completely torn out, they got you covered on all things in between, brakes and more. They got you covered, man. They can do it all. I sit here just running down a list of things I've had done at A1 Gear and Auto. Hubs. Good Lord, man. Nissan Altimas, they will eat the hubs right off them vehicles. I don't know what it is about those cars and the bearings and hubs, but Nissan Altimas eat them up. Or maybe it's Altima drivers. I haven't quite figured out which one it is. I'm leaning more towards it being the drivers of the Altimas. But either way, they got those. They get those taken care of for you out there at A1 Gear and Auto. But look, man, they got gear in their name, and that is for your rear ends, your front ends, the things that make your vehicle go on down the road. You having any roaring sounds, you feeling any slack in your rear end, your front end is jerking, that could be your ring and pinion being messed up. Get out there and let Justin and the team check it out today and go with the pros. They've been the pros for the last 15 plus years when it comes to ring and pinion. They're the leaders in the industry here locally. Most mechanic shops around here don't work on that kind of stuff. They send it to A1 Gear and Auto, then they try to mark it up a little bit so they make a few bucks because you're their customer. Cut out the middleman. Go straight there yourself. Highway 49 South, Florence, Mississippi. Diagnosed right the first time, fixed right on time, and fixed on budget every time. That's A1 Gear and Auto, Florence, Mississippi. All right. I'm here live in the Men's Health, Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios with Brad Hancock and Ford. Ford, tell me your first name again.
Forey.
Forey.
Yes.
Forey Ford?
Yes.
That's your first and last name?
First and last
Forey
name.
Ford?
There you go.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, you told me that, and I guess it didn't quite click. Forey Ford. I ain't going to forget that.
All right.
I got you there. And Forey is the president of it all right now.
No,
He's the program director.
Program director.
Yes.
Whatever.
Program director.
Same thing. Same thing. Program director. say one of the things we were talking about during the break is if you're out there and you're a business owner or an HR director and you need some help, you need labor, whatever it is, consider using the folks over there at Gateway. These guys, they've got folks in their life program, new life program, that are ready to work, and they're going to help them out with transportation within reason, getting them there. Maybe it's public transportation, maybe it's a ride by these guys, whatever. They're doing their part. And these are guys that are at a certain point in the program, too. These ain't guys just straight off the street that the next day, let's go put them to work. I mean, these are guys that y'all feel have reached a certain point in the program where they're going to be productive employees and members of society, right?
Absolutely. So they're eligible to go to work and find sustainable income at their 5.5 month, 6 month graduation date when they graduated the first phase of the program. And basically they're living in accountability. You know, we routinely drug test them. If you have any issues with one of our guys coming to work for you, you can call us and we can work that out together. Say, hey, John Doe was late, or we're having some issues with him in this area. So there's sort of an extra layer of accountability, you know, there for the guy out there that owns a business,
especially a small business that may not can afford drug testing and stuff like that. And I hate to say this, but maybe somewhere who was hiring illegals, you know, and that market's drying up. You know, consider these guys over at Gateway. You can probably get them for a decent rate. I'm not saying below minimum wage or anything, but you can probably get them at a decent rate, let them earn their way up, you know, up the ladder, earn their way to a higher wage, and you've got that layer of accountability with Gateway for the drugs, for the transportation, for some other things. I think this is a great deal here for people, especially, you know, you guys that have general labor type stuff. It's a great way to kind of get back into accountability and whatnot. I don't know. And look, I'm gonna tell you what, I did car sales for a long time, and we had a lot of people come out of addiction, come out of the programs, and got into car sales and became very, very successful because the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
The dopamine hit from accomplishing a sale is because it's money.
Yeah.
Is better than any high that you can ever get. And I saw so many guys find success and find financial success and sobriety success because they were able to replace that high from the drugs with that high from the sales. Absolutely. Now, unfortunately, you would see some guys get that first paycheck and bada bing, bada boom. Yeah. But more times than not, that was actually a rarity. But more times than not, you saw them they love to feed that. And it's like a lot of people go from drugs to super duper fitness.
Yeah.
You know, like they whether it's marathon running, weights, whatever, they become obsessed because it's an addictive personality trait that finds these people a lot of times in these situations. And like I can't think of a better thing for your mental health than replacing drugs with physical fitness. And, you know, if that's an addiction, then that's a pretty good addiction. I've heard people try to make the case, and I've sarcastically done this myself, make the case for people who swap out drugs for physical fitness, where you're just trading one addiction for another. And anything that takes you away from your responsibilities as a family leader, an employee, whatever, is still a bad addiction. And I need to retract that statement. I think that, you know, taking care of yourself is a great thing to do, whether it's you do too much of it or not. At least you're doing too much of a good thing versus too much of a bad thing. But I didn't mean to get off track there. But circling back to the job thing, guys. I mean, don't just think general labor stuff. My guys out there in the car world, maybe I know it's hard. People don't want to go sell cars. It's hard work. It's a lot of downtime. It's a lot of work. But this may be a path for you all to consider, is reaching out to the folks at Gateway and giving them a chance. My guy Eric Anderson, he's the general manager of the Kirk Toyota store up in Grenada, but he was the general manager at Herringer Toyota for years, and he ran the AA program or the NA program, the 12 steps here. I say ran. He hosted an event. He gave out coins and stuff. I don't know his exact title, but he was a former addict that got clean, and he recruited a bunch of guys out of the program to come sell for us at Hair and Gear, and that's where I really saw that was a nice replacement for the drugs, and those people with their attention refocused did very well, and myself included. That's not how I got into sales, but having been a former addict and just a year or so into my sobriety from drugs, when I got into the car business, I realized that, that is quite the high, that dopamine hit
Absolutely.
from, making $1,000 in one deal or more than that, or even a couple $100, whatever it is. It was something to refocus my attention. I was like, oh, I like that. How do I get more of that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't mean to go on a rant there, but I just want to open up as many possibilities as possible for these guys and for these people out there, these employers out there listening. Man, maybe it's time to, look at recruiting employees a different way than just an ad on Facebook or a ad on the job sites and all that stuff. Maybe a little bit more of a direct approach, meeting people where they're at, as you say.
Absolutely.
And giving them a chance. Maybe it's a way to come up with a program. Maybe it's even starting them off part-time and bringing them into the responsibility of working 10, 12 hours a day at a dealership and all the stresses and all that come with that. Maybe there's another way. So
Absolutely.
I'm putting that on somebody's heart out there that owns a dealership to consider that. And thank me later or curse me later. Either way, I'll take the credit or the blame. Landing the plane here. Guys, I got a whole another hour to go today, too, another third hour, and we're going to dive into all the WLBT stuff that I spoke about earlier. But how can people donate again?
They can donate at gatewaymission.org. That's our website. Or give us a call at 601-353-5864. That's 601-353-5864. And we'd be glad to hook up with you and let you meet some of our guys. And I'd love for you to come down. We really like for people to show up. Just come and see what we do.
What are the hours that they can show up?
Well, Monday through Friday, around 8 to 5 is our normal operating business hours. If they want to volunteer, they go on the volunteer portal on our website. But if they just want a tour of a facility, we ask that you give us a call. But if you just want to pop up and just see what we do while we're in action, that's all right with us too.
I like it. I sit here and talk about this stuff all day and just kind of getting ramped up here. But I appreciate you guys for coming on this morning. I'm going to let them go. I'm going to come back, land the plane for hour 2. Again, we got a third hour to go today. If you find it in your hearts, swing by, see our folks at Gateway right there on Gallatin. If you're from Jackson, you know where it is. I don't have to tell you. You can always Google it, worst case scenario, Gateway Rescue Mission. Real quick, 30 seconds. If people want to drop off clothing, donations, non-perishable items, can they do that? Do y'all take those kind of donations?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can drop them off at our shelter in downtown Jackson or on Highway 80 in Pearl at our Gateway Bargain Center.
I love it. So, but guys, don't use them as a dump site either. Use stuff that they can use. Come on, use a little common sense with it. But consider them for those jeans that don't fit you anymore, for those shoes that don't fit you anymore, that style that don't work for you anymore. Instead of taking that and trying to resell it for $5 or $10, donate it. Put that on your hearts. All right, we'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show on WYAB. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here live on WYAB. Man, we got about a minute before the top of the hour break. I want to thank those guys for coming in from Gateway Rescue. Always try to do my part to right the ship a little bit. I'm quick to criticize a lot of the things going on. I'm quick to bash Jackson and a lot of the things going on in Jackson. But there are people doing good things out there. And I don't want to stick my head in the sand and be so hard-headed and aggravated with the things that are going on, the bad, that I ignore the good. And what those folks at Gateway are doing, what my friends over at Shower Power are doing, it is the Lord's work. Whether we are happy with the fact that people are drug addicts and have gotten themselves homeless and hadn't gotten themselves the help or not, and I explained that loudly in the first segment of the show this morning, we still need people down there doing the work that they're doing. So I want to make sure we shine that light. We'll be right back in 7 minutes. Boom, shakalaka boom. Ha ha. Boom goes the dynamite. It's hour 3 of the Clay Edwards Show on the RADIO 103.9 FM, streaming worldwide at Save JXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. Today is a third hour of the Clay Edwards Show. There is not a heavy hitters guest today. So I thought, hey, 2 hours of me. and I did my guest. What I should have done, and I didn't really think about it, what I should have done was had my guest in the last hour in the third hour. But, hey, that's on me. I scheduled it at 8 a.m., and I didn't want to change their schedule because they had already set it out. So I said, hey, you know what? We'll just split the show up a little bit this morning, and we'll do a third hour of the Clay Edwards Show here in the 9 to 10 a.m. hour live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios. I want to tell you real quick about Core Wellness and Therapy, new here as an advertiser on WYAB and on the Clay Edwards Show. Look, these guys, I've been going over there for over a month now. It's right there in the township at Highland Colony, off Highland Colony. And what they do there, it's like age rejuvenation, basically. Anti-aging clinic, I think is the word I'm looking for. They don't necessarily advertise it as an anti-aging clinic, but a lot of anti-aging type stuff. And what I go for, what I can co-sign on and tell y'all 100% has been working for Clay for a little over a month now is their red light therapy and their cryo chamber. It has worked wonders for my pain in certain parts of my body, swelling, inflammation, my skin from the red light therapy, from the face up especially. I'm looking at myself on the screen right now. That's not a filter. I look younger. The bags under my eyes have gotten smaller. My skin feels better, looks better. The coloration in my skin is much better. I've gotten my color back, and I'm not out in the sun a whole lot. And the red light therapy is not a tanning bed either. So I've gotten much more, like I said, just got a lot of color back. I feel better. I've got more energy. They also offer the liquid IVs. The IV hydration and the different IVs and the different vitamins. They have the NAD, which is so popular in the hydration in the IV hydration drip. You can do the NAD. They sell supplements there, such as NAD pills, blue methylene. This is all stuff that's considered biohacking. If you follow Dana White, Joe Rogan, Gary Brecka, this is all stuff that they're very, very big on. If you're into fitness, this is something you definitely need to consider as another layer, another tool in your toolbox. No one thing is a miracle drug, but you mix all this stuff together and it does work very, very well. It works great in addition to the things I'm doing over at Men's Health in Mississippi with my testosterone and my semaglutide. This in addition to that, and it's just unlocking the fountain of youth, basically. But get over there. We're going to be telling you a lot about the things they offer. But the two things that I have been doing that I can safely tell y'all do work is the red light therapy and the cryotherapy. They have the hyperbaric chamber as well. They have the sonar. Is it sonar? They have the sauna over there, the red light sauna. There's a technical name for it. I'm drawing a blank. But there's a special kind of new heat sauna that's done with red light that is supposed to be amazing, healthy for you. It's called Core Wellness and Therapy. Ashley has asked on Facebook. Core Wellness and Therapy, right there at Highland Colony in the township. Check them out today. Let them know I sent you over there. They have a monthly membership. They have a couple different options available for you. They have an IV membership, and they have a red light and a cryo membership, and it comes with all sorts of things and discounts, and some of it's unlimited, some of it's a discount, pay to go. A lot of options there. I'll let them discuss the financials with you, but I could afford it, and I'm not saying that because I can, it means you can, but I found a way in my rather tight budget to afford it, and 30 days in, after being a paid customer for a month, I safely feel like I'm not leading y'all astray by inviting y'all to go over there and try it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. But be patient, like with anything, like I told y'all with the testosterone. If you're taking a shot and by the end of week 1 you're expecting to feel a difference, you're going to be disappointed. But 8 weeks in, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I feel great. And that's how I feel about the red light therapy. Now, the cryo chamber, I felt great the second I got out of that, being blasted by negative 200 degree nitrogen for 3 minutes. Yeah, you want to talk about a dopamine hit. It is an ice bath on steroids. So try that. You won't regret it. Core Wellness and Therapy. All right, man, let's jump into it. So yesterday, CJ LeMasters, WLBT, put out a Facebook post, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. Well, you know what? Why not? Why not read the whole thing? And he basically just kind of went after independent media, myself in particular. Now, he didn't say my name, but I'm the only person that did a video last week talking about and did a segment on the show talking about how Capitol Police are to thank for Jackson's crime rate being down. And he tried to nitpick it and this, that, and the other. Like, it's almost like he's mad that the crime is down in Jackson. And you're really going to give credit to JPD? JPD did it? I'm not saying they didn't help. I'm not saying the new chief didn't help. But to sit there and ignore Capitol Police is quite foolish. Quite foolish. But it's the statement at the end that got a lot of people pretty fit to be tied with him. Thought it was kind of funny. Because instead of just saying my name, he went and pissed off all the other independent content creators in town. And now he's having to crawfish it back. But, well, I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't talking about you. Other Kane called him out and some others. Oh, but I wasn't talking about you. He was talking about me. But trying to be the big guy and not just say my name, he pissed off a bunch of other people. So I'm going to say my name for him today. So here's what CJ said. Part of my job as a journalist is to help dispel false narratives. I've heard some say that Capitol Police are the reason why overall homicides in the city of Jackson are down 38% as of this post. Let's see what the numbers tell us. Right now, Jackson has 40 homicides. 7 of those were worked by Capitol Police thus far this year in the CCID. This time last year, Capitol Police worked 2. That means homicides in the CCID are actually up significantly, whereas overall in the city, killings are down in the 3/4 of the city that JPD polices. You can see all this for yourself here at the WLBT Jackson homicide thing, which I referenced in my video. I mean, I gave them their credit. He said, oh, we get mad because, people use our content and don't give us credit. I gave you your credit. I had it on the screen. Anyway, he says, in our newly updated homicide tracker, which also shows demographic data for the last decade of killings in Jackson. This is the part right here. This is the arrogance and smug attitude of the mainstream media that has people aggravated with them and why they don't want to, and why they reach out for other people like myself for content and for quote unquote news. And it's why this platform even exists. It says this is why it's important to get your news from journalists, not personalities. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. Hashtag the more you know. Hashtag we deal in facts here. Hashtag y'all shoved your heads so far up your butts during Chockway's 8 years as mayor of Jackson and never decided to cover any of his inadequacies to the very end, which led Jackson down this path that's down. And y'all probably got blood on your hands because if you had done your jobs in his first administration, there wouldn't even have been a second administration if y'all had properly shined the light on the crimes that he was allegedly committing and the spike in crime under his watch and due to him defunding the police in other ways. Also, if we want to talk about the rise in homicides in the Capitol Police Precinct, I said, which is funny, there's 40 homicides in Jackson this year. 7 have been investigated by Capitol Police versus 2 the same time last year. Well, okay, what about the other 30? What about the other 33 in the rest of Jackson? You see what they did there? He kind of manipulated the numbers a little bit. He didn't tell you about 7 homicides being investigated by Capitol Police, while there's still 33 in the rest of Jackson. Also, the CCID doubled in size, almost, from 2023 to 2024, 2024 to 2025, since last July. July 1st, the CCID, they near doubled in size with the expansion of the CCID and the implementation of HB 1020, which they were all against, by the way. So what I would really like to do, and I have not had time to do it, is look at the murder map and overlay the expansion of the CCID with what was previously JPD. And you're going to see that some really bad areas got added to the CCID. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it all happened in Fondren and Belhaven. Is that where all the murders happened this year? In Fondren and Belhaven? Is that where those 7 murders happened? In Fondren and Belhaven? I bet you that's not where those murders happened. I bet you the majority of those murders happened in that part of the CCID back behind Fondren. Now, look, I don't make excuses for Jackson. Y'all know I don't. I call it like I see it. That's why I even have a platform, is because I call this crap out. But to get on here, for him to get on there and pretend that the Capitol Police aren't why crime is down overall in Jackson is absolutely asinine. You ask anybody that lives in the CCID, you ask anybody that lives in Belhaven, in Fondren, and now Northeast Jackson, if they feel safer because of the Capitol Police than they did back in 2021, 2020 to, well, frankly, anytime prior to about 2023. You ask them if they feel safer. I don't need to ask them. I got eyeballs. I can look. I'm not seeing the stories of crime in those areas. The Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. The Mazda Jackson phone line, please stay on topic. I do not want to talk about anything else. 601-879-0002. 601-879-0002. If you live in Jackson, I don't even care if it's in the CCID or not. If you live in Jackson, do you feel safer knowing that the Capitol Police is on the job versus just JPD? I want to know. People in the comments, do y'all feel safer with JPD? With Capitol Police on the job, doing what they're doing? And when we come back from the break, I'm going to use a local story that NBC, which is a part of WLBT, they're an NBC affiliate, a local story that they manipulated the headline in to try to make Capitol Police look like racist. Black killing racist. Did y'all know that 70% of, at least the last time I checked, 70% of the Capitol Police enforcement officers are black? 70%. They're an overwhelming black police force. But they sit there and they try to paint this narrative that it's a bunch of Rankin County cowboys, white racisms coming into Jackson fighting crime. That's not it. That's not it. That ain't what's going on. That police force is 70% black at last check. But why WLBT and these other media outlets and these pulpit pimps like Pastor Pickett and them have railed against them, why your new mayor of Jackson was against HB 1020, which now he's suddenly for it, is because they were told to be. Because it's Republicans' idea. The Republicans came up with it, and God knows the Republicans aren't allowed to tell Democrats what's good or bad in their areas. I mean, all you really got to do is look at the Republican-led communities versus the Democrat-led communities around here, and you can tell who's got it figured out and who doesn't. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, engineer, or even an astronaut to know that Democrats cannot run cities. You can't point to a single Democrat-led city in this country and think to yourself, man, they really got it figured out there. Hey, I want to move from this conservative, pro-law enforcement community to this Democrat community. That conversation doesn't happen. Does not happen. When we take a break real quick, we're going to come back and we're going to read your text and we're going to read your comments. And again, phone line's wide open. Mazda Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. And thank God for good businesses like Mazda Jackson that could have built anywhere they wanted to in central Mississippi, but they chose to invest in Jackson when so many others have left. Hey, the building they're in is because the dealership left Jackson, but they ran to it instead of away from it. Good folks. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. If you're watching online, hit that share button. If you would, hit the like button, drop a comment. It helps us out a lot in that big tech algorithm. It helps us rank up there and even beat people like WLBT, WAPT, WJTV. Save Jackson, Jackson Jambalaya, Crossing the Aisle, WYAB, Kim Wade. Real news from real people. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the most incendiary show. The show that ain't scared to call anybody and everybody out by name. We don't have to do passive-aggressive segments around here. We don't have to make passive-aggressive Facebook posts around here. We got a problem with you. We look you in the eye just like a man. A man, I said. A real man. And we call you out. We defend our name around here. I don't know how we've gotten on this whole nonsense of turning the other cheek. We ain't going to do that around here. Done turning the other cheek. I turned the other cheek for 5 years while I built this platform. I'm done turning the other cheek. Done with it. You question our integrity, we're going to call you out. I can eat a lot of crap. I got thick skin. But you question my integrity, I'm going to call you out. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much bigger of a platform you got than me. But I do take a lot of pride. I do appreciate it. It lets me know that this platform has made leaps and bounds when one of the most well-respected journalists in the state is having to take shots at us. I'll take that. We've come a long way, hadn't we? When CJ LeMasters has to take shots at us, let you know that you got to get your media, you got to get your news from them, from journalists. They hold themselves to a higher standard. So let's talk about that standard that they hold themselves to. Let's talk about Jalen. Is it Jalen Lewis? Let's talk about that. Is that his name? I got it right here. Yeah, Jalen Lewis. Y'all may remember Jalen Lewis. He was a future rocket scientist, engineer, possibly was even going to be an astronaut one day. He was a FAFO champion, one of the OG FAFO champions. Got himself FAFO'd by the OG Jump Out Boys, Capitol Police, because he tried to run over them. That's right. He tried to run over the Capitol Police. They unalived him. It was them or him. They chose him. One of the first FAFO champions. I ain't got no regrets about it either. Not a single one. You tried to kill police. I'm never going to apologize or feel bad for talking about somebody that got themselves killed because they tried to kill the police. I don't care what Attorney General Lynn Fitch thinks of it. They tried to kill the police. It was discovered that he had guns and dope in the vehicle. Guns are legal. We're big supporters of the Second Amendment here on the Clay Edwards Show, but it ain't legal to have a gun when you have firearms. And he should have been a convicted felon, but due to a plea deal, he got out of it with a misdemeanor. But he's a previous drug convictions. Should have been trafficking, but they had a headline that read, "Police killed." What was it? What was the headline? Father killed, young father killed by police. That was the NBC headline. Tried to paint him as some innocent angel, just a hard-working father. Got killed by the evil polices. When he tried to kill the police, is why he ended up dead. And they've been trying to paint this narrative that Jalen Smith was this, I'm sorry, I keep saying Jalen Smith, is Jalen Lewis was some angel. And I'm not saying that he was all in all a bad person. I'm sure that he had moments where he was a good guy. But he was a good guy that made a really, really bad decision on this night and on others. So thank you to Sean Yerkeron for digging a little deeper. And me and Sean and Lindsay talked about this last night. We have a new show, by the way. I was going to make a big announcement in the first hour, at the end of this first hour, and I ran out of time. If you enjoy this content, you can thank CJ LeMasters for this. CJ LeMasters questioning independent journalism and independent creators' credibility yesterday sparked us to finally pull the trigger on this thing, which we've been talking about doing for a while. Myself, Sean Yerkeron, and Lindsey Beckham, all hosts here at WYAB, are now doing a weeknight news show. It'll stream live exclusively on social media, all of my platforms, Facebook, X, YouTube, Rumble. I'm going to try Instagram, their platforms, Crossing the Aisle, Sean Yerkeron, Lindsey Beckham. If you're friends with us on social media, on any platform, YouTube, Facebook, any of them, this show will be streaming to all of our platforms. Did well over 10,000 viewers last night for our first episode. Let me say that again. Well over 10,000 viewers last night on our first episode, unannounced. But starting tonight is the first official. 8 p.m. every Monday through Friday. Real news you can use. And I don't pretend to not be biased. I have my biases. At least I'm honest about them. But here's the Jalen Lewis thing. So Sean says, I confirmed what I was saying on air last night. You can see here that Jalen Lewis was initially charged with trafficking marijuana when he was arrested, and then they reduced the charge to simple possession of 1 to 5 kilograms as part of the plea deal. So you can use this in the next segment. It was very easy. It would have been very easy for the media to discover that he was a dope dealer because this is all public records, but instead they went with young father. That was the headline from NBC, which is the parent affiliate, however you want to say that, of WLBT. And that's been the narrative. That's been the narrative that's been pushed around here. CJ wants to talk about narratives. Well, CJ, y'all been pushing a narrative that Jalen Lewis was some perfect angel, just a young father. Okay, sure, he was a young father that was also a dope dealer. Does that mean he deserved to die? No, it doesn't. I have lots of friends that were dope dealers. They didn't deserve to die. But when you play with fire and you get burned, you can't be upset with anybody. But again, he didn't get filled up with hot lead by the Capitol Police because he was a dope dealer. He got filled up with lead because he was trying to kill Capitol Police because he had dope in the car and was trying to get away, in my opinion. Talk about narratives. They've been painting this narrative, and WLBT and CJ are just as guilty of it. Painting this narrative that Rankin County's bad, that these conservative-led law enforcement agencies are bad. They've been painting this narrative for a while. I think our communities are great. I think real law enforcement requires ruffling a little feathers every now and then, keeping the criminals upset. You know, none of us are co-signing on what the Goon Squad did, but it feels like to me that they're trying to, that it's almost like CJ has what I'm calling Goon Squad Derangement Syndrome. And now you have all these other areas wanting to somehow draw a line back to the Goon Squad. Where anytime a white cop has to defend himself and unalive a black man. Somehow it's like, this is all Goon Squad adjacent to them. It's what it feels like. So they all want to paint it back to the Goon Squad. Oh, it's got to have been racism. Whether they say it or not, that's how it comes across. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of good law enforcement being painted with a broad brush. I'm sick of bad law enforcement because they fit a certain political association getting a pass. And that's why I take JPD to task like I do. I mean, look at what they did to Anthony Fox. It's a damn shame. Even Jody Owens made it clear, his office made it clear, they wanted people to know that these charges that have been pressed on the Capitol Police officers over this Jalen Lewis thing, his office wouldn't have done that. Well, you know it's bad when the guy that wrongfully prosecuted Anthony Fox and those guys, sending Anthony to jail, to prison. You know it's bad when he comes out and says he wouldn't have prosecuted this one, but our state Republican Attorney General, against all advisement, has decided to. There's so much to unpack with this. But again, it's just the arrogance of the mainstream media to feel like they need to go out and attack people like me for suggesting that the Capitol Police are somehow not responsible for the decrease in homicides in Jackson. What I'd also love to see is the actual crime stats from JPD and from the Capitol Police. You know, not murders, aggravated assault, carjackings, violent crimes. I would like to know how many of those 7 homicides inside the Capitol precinct, the CCID, how many of those are domestic? Again, I'm just asking questions here. I said I was going to read comments and all when we came back. I got on a rant there. We will read your comments and text messages when we come back. I get fired up about this, and I know I can kind of jump down some rabbit holes here, but I feel like good law enforcement has been under attack nationally for far too long, and now it's bleeding into our local coverage of them. You know, CJ's had a hard-on for Pearl for quite a while. The last year of Dean Scott's life was a living hell because of CJ's investigation, which led to him resigning from his job. And eventually, I'm not saying that his death is because of CJ LeMasters, but the stress that CJ was put under for the investigation that CJ did that led to him having to resign, the stress that caused, which he was cleared from, by the way, and no charges were filed, damn sure didn't help. Should be ashamed of himself. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show, here live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios. This segment brought to you by Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi. Guys, text Clay to the all-new number, 601-800-5130, 601-800-5130, 601-800-5130. Text Clay for your complimentary testosterone screening and for consultation to see if you are a good candidate for compounded semaglutide. That is basically generic Ozempic. You can save nearly $1,000 a month by choosing compounded semaglutide instead of Ozempic, based on certain rates and prices out there in the marketplace. Lose a ton of weight. It's even some studies showing that the compounded semaglutide is helping people battle alcohol addiction. That's right. It's killing the taste for alcohol. Sean has talked about that when he started taking it. He said he suddenly just didn't have the cravings for alcohol. Not that he was an alcoholic or anything like that, but he just said, I don't feel like drinking. And I can say the same thing. I do not drink nearly as many beers or enjoy beer quite as much as I used to. Still drink it here and there, but definitely has cut back my cravings for alcohol, and I get full so much quicker from it. So check them out today. They offer way more than just compounded semaglutide and testosterone. But those are the two things that I can speak the most on, because those are the two things that I do over there. And they've definitely worked. I look like a completely different human being than I looked like a couple years ago. I'm going to show you all a little before and after photo right here if you're watching online. This was me 3 years ago on the left, and this is me now on the right. And that is with a less than committed workout schedule. More than anything, that is just diet, testosterone, and semaglutide made all that difference. Am I perfect? Am I a swimsuit model? Absolutely not. But I'm a whole different human being than I was 3 years ago. So that's from Men's Health of Mississippi and Women's Wellness of Mississippi. Testosterone replacement therapy is a wonder drug. And if they knew how well it actually worked, they would charge way more for it than they do. Text Clay to 601-800-5130. That's a 70-pound difference, by the way. All right. Let's read some of your comments here about WLBT, CJ LeMasters, and whatnot. I want to say something else, too. I've always tried to respect – I've always had a lot of respect for CJ. And I don't want to discredit all the good work he's done, because he has done a lot of good work. He did a lot of really good work on the John Sullivan rape allegations and all that stuff. So I don't want to sit here and pretend that I had a vested interest in that case. And I talked with CJ a lot over the years about stuff. There was, and I'm a big boy. I don't have a problem with you disagreeing with me, but to discredit my credibility and my character like that it was crossing the line. So I have no problem jumping right across that line myself. But one thing that I've always held against CJ, and how I even learned who CJ LeMasters was, and I can never, ever forget it, is during COVID, he went full brown shirt Gestapo. And people were out there enjoying themselves on a beautiful Saturday or Sunday, even though the reservoir was closed. Tate Reeves, I ain't forgot about that either. What an idiot you were during COVID. But I'm trying to get over that. There's nothing else I can do about it. You're in your last term. Ooh-wee. But anyway, the reservoir was closed for some unbeknownst reason. I mean, really, you can't go out on a boat. What an idiot thing to do. But anyway, CJ decided to snitch. Now, I can't remember if they used a drone or not, but people were over there on the Ridgeland side, over by Cock of the Walk and all that, at the green area, the grassy, I forget the name of that park, but it's over there by Reservoir Point and by Cock of the Walk and all that. People were out there just, socially distanced, hanging out with their friends and family, just maybe having a picnic, just being outside, getting some fresh air, not being stuck inside with recirculated air, getting sick, getting fat, and being miserable, and not getting the vitamin D they need from the sun. CJ does a story snitching on Mississippians for being outside. For what crime, you said, Clay? For being outside. For being out in a public space. CJ LeMasters and WLBT did a story snitching those people out. I'm pretty sure they called the authorities. I can't remember or not, so I don't want to 100% go on record saying they called the cops on them, but I feel pretty confident. If nothing else, they dry snitched. They dry snitched their fellow Mississippians for the crime of being outside during COVID. That should have told me all I needed to know about C.J. LeMasters. Fast forward, and here we are. And and I hate this because I have gone out of my way, and I've tried all I can to avoid going down the same path that Polo did on some things. The cipher voice. I mean, one thing I ain't never going to do is kill anybody over a woman. That I can confirm. I ain't killing nobody over a woman that ain't my daughter. I will absolutely 100% kill somebody over my child. But I ain't never, ever going to kill somebody over a woman sleeping with somebody else. Let me paraphrase that. I will defend my girl to the death. But if she decides to sleep with somebody else, I ain't killing nobody over them like Polo did. I got enough self-control of my emotions that I ain't never going to do that. But I try to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that Polo found himself in. And one was battling with the mainstream media for respect. I remember him doing this very thing. I remember Polo going after CJ and me after me and Polo had a falling out. And I was like, well, I'll never do that. I'm not going to go after the mainstream media and battle with them like Polo did. But I also didn't anticipate having my credibility thrown into question by CJ LeMasters. And I will absolutely defend myself. And the fact it was over something so asinine as suggesting that the Capitol Police are the reason that crime is down in Jackson, I find that more offensive than the fact that he questioned my credibility. Questioned the credibility of independent media. To sit there, frankly, it brings his credibility into question. To suggest that crime isn't down in the capital city because of the Capitol Police. What an idiot thing to say. Haley says, Clay looking good, need to come get in the ring with BTB, continue your fitness journey. I'm not getting in the ring doing any fighting. I'm almost 50 years old. Getting punched hurts, but I definitely want to have Bout Time Brawling as a partner on this show, and I want to come sell my merch at y'all's next event. Help y'all promote it. Portis says, who's the problem in Jackson? It's Jacksonians, but it's not who you think. This is a deliberate attack on unity by racist people who are in power. How would Madison look if the reservoir was closed and a fence put around it? Use discernment and point the finger at who really caused the downfall of Jackson. Don't forget the swimming pond at the zoo was also closed. History lesson, Lake Hyco was initially built as a cooling pond for the Rex Brown plant and was also used for recreation, though initially only open to white people due to segregation. And somebody replied back that Purtis Energy took responsibility for Hyco. The liability caused them to fence it. I think that Portis was blaming white people on the downfall of Jackson. I mean, look, man, I was told that Jackson didn't need white folks. We'll be right back to land the plane for the day. All right, let's read some more of your comments here because when I come back, we're going to be all up against the break. The show's going to be over. Cece says, it just confirms the news media is not telling us the truth about anything. And that's what I think. I think this puts a big black eye on them more than it does me. I mean, to sit there and pretend that the Capitol Police isn't wholeheartedly the reason that Jackson is safer is just one of the most asinine things for a reporter to say, especially somebody, again, CJ's done some really, really good work, but he's got some blinders on. He does not like Republican law enforcement. I mean, clearly is not a fan of conservative-led law enforcement agencies. It's a form of Goon Squad derangement syndrome. Let's see. Robin says Democrats burn cities, literally and figuratively. Barbershop Bob says, I'm afraid that so many liberals and Muslims are moving to Texas and that we're going to lose it as a red state. I think that we are going to be okay there, especially once we get these illegals out of there. Let's see here. Terry says JPD won't even answer the phone. Called last week and Capitol Police answered. Transferred to JPD, still no answer. Got sent back to Capitol Police. Barbershop Bob says, back in the day, WLBT was the only channel I watched, but when they fired Barbie, I have not watched them since. Yep. They want to shake off any of that, don't they? CC says, I agree with you about the whole CJ LeMaster's comments. I rarely agree with you, but you were spot on with this. Thank you. All right. That's got us caught up. Let me see if I got enough time. I'll read a couple of the text messages on the Guns and Gear text line. We got about a minute. Let's see if we got any text notifications there. Unknown texter says, I actually lost weight during COVID because I started doing workout videos at home. I actually lost about 10 pounds from exercising in my own home. That's great, man. Unknown texter says, WLBT is the worst of the three. Chad says, CJ LeMasters is trash. I've known that for years with his one-sided liberal reporting on the news in Jackson. Jackson Jambalaya isn't any better. Several stories have been complete lies, and he never backs up his lies, just keeps printing them. What's Jackson Jambalaya lied about? I think he does a good job. I'm very curious. Woodrow says Jim Belushi is not a blues brother. Well, he's bringing the blues brother shtick to Martin's, so it is what it is. That's how they're advertising it. All right. One last thing. Got a birthday here. I'm so sorry I forgot to get to this. Happy birthday to Trey Hughes. He turned 10 yesterday. Trey, happy birthday, my friend. Guys, I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Y'all stay blessed. Welcome back in as we land the plane for the day. I got to do it with a belated happy birthday to 10-year-old Trey Hughes. Happy birthday from your mom and dad, big listeners of the show. So happy birthday, Trey. I was supposed to do that earlier in the show, and I missed it. I hope we were able to get it in. Hope you were still in the car. I'll be back here tomorrow. Andrew Gosser up next. Be blessed.